I just bought the cottage. My daughter-in-law called. We'll be there in 3 hours with 20 people. My name is Lydia, and at 58 years old, I finally achieved my lifelong dream of owning a cottage by Lake Michigan. After 30 years of saving every penny from my teaching salary, I stood in the doorway with keys in hand, breathing in the scent of pine and lake water. My moment of peaceful solitude lasted exactly 42 minutes before my phone rang. It was my daughter-in-law, Amanda. We'll be there in 3 hours with 20 people from my family. Prepare rooms, cook for all. We're staying 2 weeks. I smiled, but my hands started to shake. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from. And hit that subscribe button if you've ever had family members who didn't respect your boundaries. For 35 years, I taught English to high school students, working tirelessly to inspire young minds while secretly nurturing my own dream. A small cottage by the water had been my goal since Thomas and I got married, but life always seemed to have other plans for our money. College funds for our son Michael, unexpected home repairs, and then Thomas's illness that took him from me 5 years ago. When Thomas passed, he left a modest insurance policy that I saved carefully. I continued working, cutting coupons, taking summer school positions, and putting away every extra dollar. My colleagues thought I was excessively frugal, but I had my eyes on the prize. A place of my own where I could spend my retirement in peace, surrounded by nature and memories. After months of searching, I found it. A small 2-bedroom cottage with weathered blue siding and white trim. It wasn't fancy or large, but it had windows that faced the water and a small dock where I imagined sitting with my morning coffee. The property was priced just at the upper limit of what I could afford, and I found myself competing with wealthy summer people who could easily outbid me. By some miracle, the previous owner was a former teacher himself. He chose my offer over higher ones because he wanted the cottage to go to someone who would truly love it, not just use it for occasional vacations. When I got the call that my offer was accepted, I wept with joy in the teacher's lounge during lunch period. My relationship with my son Michael had grown distant in recent years. At 32, he had married Amanda and slowly pulled away from our once close bond. Amanda came from money and had certain expectations about how life should be. She viewed my modest teacher's lifestyle with barely concealed disdain. From the beginning, Amanda had shown little respect for boundaries. When they first started dating, she rearranged my living room furniture without asking. At their wedding, she changed the mother-son dance song I had carefully chosen with Michael. When they visited, she would go through my closets and suggest items I should discard. Michael never seemed to notice or mind these intrusions, and I had bitten my tongue to keep the peace. The cottage represented more than just a home to me. It was the fulfillment of a promise Thomas and I had made to each other, a symbol of our hard work and dedication. I had specific visions for each room. The small second bedroom would become a reading nook lined with bookshelves. The kitchen window would overlook a garden where I planned to grow herbs and flowers. The front porch would have a rocking chair where I could watch the sunset. Amanda's family lived very differently than mine. Her parents owned a successful chain of furniture stores and had provided her with everything she ever wanted. Their home was a sprawling suburban mansion with a pool house larger than my entire cottage. Amanda had never known financial struggle or the satisfaction of saving for something special. Perhaps this explained her casual assumption that anything I had was also hers by extension. Just a week before closing on the cottage, my fellow teachers threw me a retirement party. They presented me with a gift basket full of cottage essentials, plush towels, scented candles, a bird identification book, and a beautiful wind chime for the porch. As I thanked them with tears in my eyes, I felt immense gratitude for their understanding of what this dream meant to me. If only my own family could share that understanding. The morning I received the keys, I drove to the cottage with my car packed full of essentials. I planned to spend the first week painting and making small improvements before moving my furniture in. The previous owner had left some basics: a couch, a kitchen table with 4 chairs, and a bed in the main bedroom. It was just enough to get me started. I walked through each room, running my hands along the walls, opening windows to let in the fresh lake breeze. I unpacked my clothes into the small bedroom closet and arranged my toiletries in the single bathroom. The kitchen needed updating, but it was functional. I made a cup of tea and sat on the back step, looking out at the water, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't experienced since Thomas died. My contentment was shattered by Amanda's call at exactly 10:17 a.m. I remember checking the time as her name flashed on my screen, wondering why she would call so early. "Lydia, is the cottage all set up?" No, hello, no, how are you? Just straight to her purpose. "I just got the keys this morning, Amanda. I'm starting to unpack a few things." "Perfect timing, then. We've decided to come visit and see your new place. My parents are in town with my sisters and their kids, plus my aunt and uncle. We'll be there in about 3 hours." My heart sank. Today, I don't have anything prepared. There's barely any furniture yet. Amanda laughed. "Don't worry about that. We'll bring air mattresses. Just make sure the place is cleaned up. Oh, and can you put together something for dinner? Mom's thinking a nice welcome meal would be great after the drive." "How many people are we talking about?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Let's see. Mom, Dad, my 3 sisters, their husbands, 7 kids, total, plus Aunt Jenny and Uncle Pete. So 20, including us. We're planning to stay for 2 weeks to really enjoy the lake. Michael's taking vacation time." I nearly dropped the phone. 2 weeks, Amanda. The cottage only has 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, and I haven't stocked any food yet. "Well, you have 3 hours to figure it out," she said cheerfully. "We're looking forward to it. Michael's so excited to see your new place. He says his dad would be proud." That last comment felt like a deliberate manipulation. My hands began to shake as the call ended. My chest tightened with anxiety as I looked around at my small, peaceful cottage that was about to be overrun. I called my friend Susan in a panic. Susan had been my colleague for 20 years and understood my boundary struggles with Amanda. They can't just invite themselves for 2 weeks, Susan said firmly. Call her back and tell her this isn't a good time. But she mentioned Michael being excited and Thomas. I don't want to disappoint my son. Lydia, this is your retirement dream. Don't let them hijack it on day one. I knew Susan was right, but the thought of confrontation made my stomach churn. After we hung up, I got in my car and drove to the nearest supermarket, spending nearly $500 on groceries. The money had been earmarked for a new mattress, but that would have to wait. Back at the cottage, I frantically cleaned arranged sleeping spaces as best I could and started preparing a pasta dish that might stretch to feed 20 people. All the while, resentment bubbled inside me. This was supposed to be my peaceful first day in my new home. Instead, I was once again catering to Amanda's impulsive demands. At precisely 1:22 p.m., the first of 5 luxury SUVs pulled into my small gravel driveway. The vehicles barely fit on the property, with the last one partially blocking the narrow road. Amanda was the first to emerge, designer sunglasses pushed up on her head, surveying the cottage with a critical eye. "It's quaint," she said, which I knew was her polite way of saying it was smaller than she expected. Michael followed behind, giving me a quick hug before unloading luggage. Amanda's parents, Robert and Diana, stepped out of their Range Rover and approached with broad smiles that didn't quite reach their eyes. "Lydia, what a charming little place," Diana said, emphasizing the word little as she looked up at the modest 2-story structure. "Is this the summer cottage, or do you have a main house elsewhere?" "This is it," I replied. "This is my retirement home." Diana's eyebrows rose slightly. "Well, isn't that sensible?" The next hour was a whirlwind of introductions. Amanda's 3 sisters, Jessica, Catherine, and Lauren, all arrived with their husbands and children in tow. Each family seemed to bring more luggage than the last piling designer suitcases in my small living room until there was barely space to walk. Aunt Jenny and Uncle Pete completed the group arriving, with 3 cases of expensive wine and questions about where the wine cellar was located. Amanda took charge immediately, directing people to their sleeping arrangements without consulting me. "Mom and Dad, you'll take the master bedroom. Lydia won't mind using the couch, will you?" She didn't wait for my answer before continuing her assignments. I found myself relegated to sleeping on my own couch, while Amanda and Michael took the second bedroom. Everyone else was assigned floor space with their air mattresses. My reading nook plans were temporarily shelved as the second bedroom became crowded with suitcases and makeshift beds. During a tour of the cottage, Amanda's sister, Jessica, ran her finger along the kitchen countertop. "These laminate countertops have to go. Granite would look so much better, don't you think? And these cabinets are so dated." Before I could respond, Diana chimed in. "We know a wonderful contractor who could renovate this whole space for you. Robert could get you a family discount on all new furniture, too." Their comments continued as we moved through each room. The bathroom was too small. The living room needed a larger TV. The porch should be enclosed to create more indoor space. With each suggestion, my vision for my cottage faded a little more. The children, ranging from 4 to 12 years old, ran wild through the house and yard. Within hours, my treasured photo of Thomas that had sat on the mantel was knocked over the frame, cracking on the hardwood floor. The 7-year-old responsible shrugged and ran off to join the others, while his mother, Catherine, barely glanced up from her phone. Dinner was chaotic. The pasta I had prepared wasn't enough, especially when I learned that Jessica's family was gluten-free and Catherine's oldest was vegetarian. No one had thought to mention these dietary restrictions beforehand. Amanda's father, Robert, eventually drove into town to pick up pizzas, making comments about the limited menu at my house. That first night was one of the longest of my life. The cottage, designed to comfortably hold 4 people, at most strained under the weight of 20. The single bathroom had a line constantly. Snoring echoed through the thin walls. Children cried. Arguments broke out over phone chargers and hot water. Around midnight, I stepped outside for a moment of peace and overheard Amanda on the phone on the back porch. "It's worse than I expected," she was saying to someone. "Tiny rooms, outdated everything. I don't know what she was thinking buying this place. We'll definitely need to help her fix it up if we're going to use it for family vacations." The casual assumption that my cottage was now a family vacation home for her extended family sent a chill through me. But it was the next morning that brought the final straw. I woke at dawn earlier than everyone else and went to the kitchen to start coffee. There I found Diana, Amanda's mother, rearranging my cabinets and drawers. "The flow was all wrong," she explained without apologizing. "This makes much more sense. And I've made a shopping list of things this kitchen needs immediately. Robert and I would be happy to contribute to making this place more functional for everyone." I needed to escape. With the house still relatively quiet, I slipped out the back door and walked down to the small wooden dock that extended into the lake. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting golden light across the gentle waves. This was the moment I had dreamed of for decades, sitting by the water at my own cottage, watching the sunrise in peace. Except there was no peace to be found. I sat at the edge of the dock, dangling my feet above the water, and felt tears welling in my eyes. This was not how my first days of retirement were supposed to be. This was not what Thomas and I had planned together during those late-night conversations about our future. I could almost hear Thomas's voice in the morning breeze. During the last months of his illness, we had talked extensively about my future without him. "Never let anyone steal your joy, Lydia," he had told me. "You've spent your life taking care of everyone else. The cottage will be your time." The sound of footsteps on the dock interrupted my memories. Amanda approached, already dressed in designer casual wear, her face set in a familiar expression of dissatisfaction. "There you are. Everyone's starting to wake up, and there's no breakfast ready. Mom suggested pancakes for the kids." I didn't respond immediately, still trying to hold on to my moment of solitude. "Also," Amanda continued scrolling through her phone, "I posted some pictures of the cottage online last night and tagged it as our new family lake house. Everyone loves it. I think we should talk about a schedule for who gets to use it during which weeks of the summer." I turned to face her. "What do you mean, our family lake house?" Amanda looked surprised at my question. "Well, it's perfect for family gatherings, though we'll need to make some upgrades if we're going to host properly." The neighbors across the lake have a beautiful dock with a boathouse. We should consider something similar. Amanda, this is my home. I spent my life savings on it. She waved her hand dismissively. And it's a great investment. Property values around here are going up. Besides, you don't need much space at your age. It makes sense for the family to maximize its use. Something inside me broke at those words. 35 years of teaching, of saving, of dreaming. 5 years of grieving Thomas and finding my way forward alone. All of it condensed into this moment of stunning disrespect. But what truly shattered me was Amanda's next casual announcement. By the way, I told my team we could use the cottage for our company retreat in August. Just a small group, maybe 15 people. It'll be great exposure on social media. I stared at her speechless. My retirement fund was gone, spent entirely on this cottage. This was not an investment property or a family timeshare. This was my home, my dream, my future. And Amanda was parceling it out without a second thought. In that moment, I realized that if I didn't stand up for myself now, I never would. My cottage would become Amanda's extended vacation home. My boundaries would continue to be trampled, and the peaceful retirement I had worked for would never materialize. The teacher in me, the one who had maintained classroom discipline for 35 years, finally awoke. It was time for a lesson in respect and boundaries. I needed time to think and plan. I told Amanda I was going into town for more groceries, but instead, I drove to a small cafe on Main Street. Over a cup of coffee, I collected my thoughts and considered my options. The cafe owner, a friendly woman named Betty, noticed my distress. "Rough morning, hon." Before I knew it, I was sharing my situation. Betty listened sympathetically, then mentioned that her brother Harold lived 2 doors down from my new cottage. He's been there 30 years, knows all the local ordinances too since he was on the town council. This chance encounter proved invaluable. Harold met me at the cafe an hour later, a retired attorney with a wealth of knowledge about lakefront property rights and local accommodation options. "Your property, your rules," he said firmly. "There are 3 nice hotels in town and a resort 5 miles up the shore. Plenty of places for visitors to stay that aren't your living room." Harold helped me research local accommodations on his tablet, finding available rooms at the Shore View Resort. He even called his friend who managed the place to ask about group rates. Next, I contacted a lawyer friend from my teaching days who specialized in property law. She confirmed what I already knew. I had every right to determine who stayed in my home and for how long. With information and options in hand, I felt my confidence growing. This wasn't about being unkind or unwelcoming. It was about establishing healthy boundaries from the beginning. I returned to the cottage in the early afternoon to find chaos had descended. Children were jumping from furniture, 2 arguments were in progress, and someone had spilled red wine on my new area rug. "Everyone," I announced loudly, channeling my teacher voice that could quiet a classroom of rowdy teenagers. "Family meeting in the living room in 5 minutes. Everyone needs to be there." The authoritative tone caught them by surprise. People began gathering, some curious, others annoyed at the interruption of their vacation. I waited until everyone was present, including all 7 children, before I began. I stood before them, nervous but determined. My hands were shaking, but I clasped them together to hide it. I am so happy to see all of you, I began, meaning it despite everything. Family is important to me, which is why I want to start our relationship in this new chapter of my life with honesty and clarity. I explained that, while I loved having family visit the cottage, was simply too small to accommodate 20 people comfortably, especially for 2 weeks. I outlined the options I had researched for nearby accommodations. The Shoreview Resort has availability for your entire group. It has a pool, game room, and beach access. I've taken the liberty of reserving rooms, though, of course, you can cancel if you prefer another option. Amanda's face flushed with anger. You're kicking us out after we drove all this way. Not at all, I replied calmly. I'm inviting you to visit comfortably. You're welcome here for meals, lake activities, and family time. But sleeping 20 people in a 2-bedroom cottage with 1 bathroom isn't feasible. Amanda's mother looked offended. In our family, we make room for each other. We don't send relatives to hotels. I understand that's your family's way, I said. In my home, we're going to do things differently. I've worked 35 years for this cottage. It's my retirement home, not a vacation property. Michael, who had been silent until now, surprisingly spoke up. Mom's right. This place is too small for all of us. I should have realized that before we came. Amanda turned to him, betrayal in her eyes. So you're taking her side? What about our plans to use this place for summer vacations? Those were your plans, not ours, Michael said quietly. We never discussed it with Mom. Amanda stood up, tears forming. If that's how you feel, maybe we should just go home, all of us, since we're clearly not welcome here. It was a classic manipulation tactic, one I recognized from years of dealing with difficult parents during teacher conferences. The all-or-nothing ultimatum designed to make me back down. In the past, I might have capitulated afraid of losing my connection with my son. Not this time. That's your choice, I said gently. But I hope you'll consider the resort option. It would mean a lot to me to spend time with everyone, just in a way that works for all of us. The next hours were tense. Amanda retreated to the bedroom with Michael, while the rest of the family whispered among themselves. I busied myself preparing lunch, acting as normal as possible, despite the knot in my stomach. To my surprise, Robert, Amanda's father, approached me in the kitchen. Lydia, Diana, and I have discussed it. We think the resort idea makes sense. It wasn't fair to impose everyone on you without proper notice. His reasonable response caught me off guard. I had always seen Amanda's parents through the lens of her entitled behavior, assuming they were the source. Perhaps I had misjudged them. By evening, arrangements had been made. The family would move to the Shoreview Resort the next morning, except for Michael and Amanda, who would stay in the 2nd bedroom for the remainder of their visit. It wasn't perfect, but it was a workable compromise. Amanda maintained a cold silence as she helped organize the family's departure, clearly unhappy with the turn of events. When we were finally alone in the kitchen, she confronted me. I was just trying to include you in our family activities. Now everyone thinks you don't want us around. That's not true, Amanda, I said. I want quality time with family, not chaos. This way, everyone can be comfortable and we can enjoy each other's company. Michael always said you were difficult, she muttered. Now I see why his father was always so frustrated with you. The comment was designed to hurt me, to hit where I was most vulnerable. The old Lydia would have crumbled, questioning herself, wondering if Thomas had really felt that way. But I knew better. Thomas had been my partner, my supporter. He would have stood beside me in this boundary setting. I'm sorry you see it that way, I replied calmly. I hope with time you'll understand this isn't about excluding anyone. It's about creating healthy boundaries so we can have a positive relationship long term. The following days brought a gradual shift in dynamics. With most of the family at the resort, visits to the cottage became more manageable. We had cookouts on the small patch of lawn, took turns using the dock for swimming, and even organized a bonfire night with marshmallows for the children. To my surprise, I found myself enjoying Diana's company when it wasn't forced upon me 24/7. She had an extensive knowledge of native plants and offered thoughtful suggestions for my planned garden. Robert turned out to be handy and fixed a leaky faucet that had been bothering me. The most unexpected connection came with Amanda's younger sister, Lauren, who sought me out one afternoon while everyone else was swimming. I admire what you did, she said quietly. Standing up for yourself like that. I wish I could do the same with Amanda sometimes. It's never too late to start, I told her. Amanda herself remained distant, but I noticed small changes. She asked before using items in the kitchen. She kept her children from running in the house. They were tiny acknowledgments of my authority in my own home. The most important conversation came toward the end of their visit, when Michael and I found ourselves alone on the dock at sunset. I'm sorry, Mom, he said, watching the orange light play on the water. I should have called first, talked to you about the visit. Amanda just gets these ideas and everyone goes along with it. Including you, I said gently. He nodded. Including me. Dad would have been disappointed in how I've let things slide between us. He would have understood, I said. But he also would have wanted us to fix it. Are we fixing it now? Michael asked. I put my arm around his shoulders, remembering when he was small enough for me to carry. I think we're making a good start. 1 month after that chaotic first week, my cottage truly became my own. I had finished painting the main living areas in soothing blue and cream colors. The reading nook was coming together with the bookshelves, built by a local carpenter. My herb garden had sprouted its first seedlings. Harold, my neighbor from 2 doors down, had become a good friend, introducing me to other year-round residents and including me in the community's weekly potluck dinners. I found myself surrounded by new friends who respected my space and shared my love of lake living. My relationship with Michael had deepened since our conversation on the dock. He called more often sometimes, just to chat about his work or ask my opinion on things like he used to before his marriage. He visited twice, once alone, and once with Amanda and their children for a day trip, not an extended stay. Amanda and I had reached a tentative truce. The company retreat idea was never mentioned again. While we weren't close, there was a new undercurrent of grudging respect in our interactions. She had seen me stand firm and realized I wasn't the pushover she had assumed. The cottage had become my sanctuary, just as Thomas and I had envisioned. Morning coffee on the dock became my cherished ritual. I joined a local book club and volunteered at the community library 2 afternoons a week. My retirement had taken shape around my own needs and interests, not others' expectations. The greatest surprise came in learning what I was capable of. For decades, I had been the accommodating one, the peacekeeper, the person who adjusted to make everyone else comfortable. Setting boundaries had terrified me. But once I started, I discovered a strength I hadn't known I possessed. I realized that Thomas hadn't just left me a small insurance policy. He had left me with the memory of his unwavering belief in me. Never let anyone steal your joy, he had said. By standing up for myself, I hadn't just protected my cottage. I had honored his memory and our shared dream. When Amanda called recently to discuss Thanksgiving plans, she asked if they could visit the cottage again. Just the four of us this time, she added quickly. And we'll stay for 3 days, not 2 weeks. I smiled at the progress that simple statement represented. That sounds lovely, I said. I'd enjoy having you. On the 1-year anniversary of moving into my cottage, I sat on the dock at sunrise, just as I had that chaotic first week. But this time, there was no anxiety, no resentment, no fear of confrontation, just peace. I understood now that setting boundaries wasn't selfish. It was necessary for authentic relationships. By respecting myself enough to protect my dream, I had taught others how to treat me. The people who truly cared adjusted. The relationships that mattered grew stronger, not weaker. I thought of all the women my age who struggle with saying no, with setting limits, with claiming space for themselves. If my story resonates with you, remember that it's never too late to start. Your dreams matter. Your peace matters. You matter. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family? How did you handle it? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story helped you feel less alone in your boundary struggles, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, protecting your joy isn't selfish, it's essential. Until next time, take good care of yourself. You deserve it.